In the Element Wealth Studios, Danielle Morgan, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Tourism Association. Morning, Danielle. Thanks for coming in today.
Good morning, Gerard. Thank you so much for having us. It's always a pleasure to come talk about Mississippi's fourth largest industry with y'all.
Awesome. And a whole lot more fun, as we were discussing before we came on the air, than talking about war.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hopefully I can share some good news.
Absolutely. All right, so you just mentioned about the size of tourism. You discussed that in the state of Mississippi. How many people visited Mississippi last year?
Last year, these numbers are hot off the press. We're just releasing them this year, but 23.4 million visitors came in 2021. So it's as you all know, it's been a tough run for tourism as the hardest hit industry, but things are starting to look up, so we're positive.
And the main thing is when they visit Mississippi, they spend money.
Absolutely, absolutely. $6.727 billion with a B last year. So it really is truly, and the best part is we don't have to educate them or anything else. They come, spend their money,
all in,
and go home. That's right.
That is awesome. So what sort of activities do you guys have going on at the Tourism Association now? What are you focused on?
Well, we are, as always, we're focused on advocacy, education, and promotion of the tourism industry. We have a big week this week. Our Tourism Day at the Capitol will be held tomorrow. We'll have a press conference at 1:30 with the Lieutenant Governor and Speaker attending, as well as Robert St. John, an industry partner, and some other special guests. And then we'll have our legislative reception tomorrow evening. We partner with Mississippi Gaming and Hospitality Association for that.
St. John, a great friend and frequent guest of the program, and a Mississippian who has certainly done his part to put Mississippi on the map. A lot of people come here for his fair and now his project in Fondren. Incredible. Absolutely.
We're so happy to see that. I've was able to take a tour, and it's just really incredible. So we appreciate all he's doing for our state.
Absolutely. So how do we promote the state, Danielle, outside of the state of Mississippi? What do we do there?
Well, we Mississippi's primarily a drive market, so we get a lot of visitation from touch states, near us that drive in. Of course, that's one bright side to the pandemic is we are a drive-in state, so that kind of worked in our favor last year. So we certainly promote gaming is a huge part of what draws people into the state. Our history and culture, that's a large driver as well, and of course our natural beauty and all of our outdoor resources, which have benefited us greatly during the pandemic.
What, if any, is the association requesting from the state of Mississippi in terms of some recovery funding that might be available?
Absolutely. We are supporting House Bill 453 that's passed out of the House. And with the CARES Act funds, we had a tourism recovery fund.
Right.
The Lieutenant Governor and Speaker we've been meeting with them since day one on how we recover the industry and make sure that we continue to draw people into the state to leave that revenue. And so they were very gracious in working with us and being innovative and founding the Tourism Recovery Fund out of CARES Act funds. As a result of that, Mississippi fared better than any other state in the United States as far as tourism recovery, and other states have started to model their programs after ours. Louisiana basically copied ours and put $77 million into tourism recovery over there. So lots of competition. We were sort of on the cutting edge, but now people are catching up, and so we want to make sure we maintain that momentum. Industry experts say we're looking at 2026 before we fully recover.
Really?
There's a lot of uncertainty with, once we get through one hurdle, it's something else. So, but we're excited to be working with the legislature. The governor, of course, his commitment to keeping our economy open, that's been tremendous for us as well. So,
what would those monies be used for?
They would be used for, it would be sort of an immediate marketing campaign to this for the state. And the way that number was, it was $52 million. It came based on what the areas around the state spend collectively in marketing throughout 2026. So to get them to that point where we feel like the industry will be fully recovered, that's sort of how we arrived at that.
Okay. What about outdoor recreation facilities, state parks, et cetera? Would they receive some of this funding as well?
Well, we have, as I mentioned, that's sort of the immediate need. We also want to ask lawmakers to look at long-term tourism investment. We know that it's not just about visitors, it's also about economic development and quality of life and how we keep young people in the state. You know, if it's a great place to visit, it's a great place to live. And if you look at a lot of the areas that are growing in population, they're also great tourism markets. So they're not mutually exclusive. It's really important that we look at making sure that we provide a good quality of life, good outdoor recreational opportunities and those sort of things. So that's sort of a long-term goal of ours, is to look at how do we develop the state to, you know, help keep people here and make sure they have a good quality of life outside of work.
Yeah, and this is something I would expect, Danielle, that you just can't allocate money to, spend it, invest it, do some work, and then leave it alone. You've got to constantly update it, modernize it, maintain it, and that costs money.
Absolutely, it does. It does. But, you know, as I mentioned, we do feel like it also is a revenue generator.
Sure.
So that's really important to all of our communities. You know, without tourism, if you talk to a lot of mom and pops around in these small communities in Mississippi, and you ask them, you know, could you make it without visitor dollars? And most would say no. So it's really important that we drive business to them as well, because they're depending on us. And that's been something that we've taken very seriously throughout this current crisis. But we look forward to moving forward and not only recovering, but hopefully growing and gaining some market share that maybe our leaders' thoughtfulness can put us ahead of the curve on a lot of that.
It would seem that if we upgrade and we update our image and our curb appeal, so to speak, that just how that impacts the visual senses at a minimum and the experience overall, there's a likelihood, if not a probability, that visitors may say, you know, this would be a good place to set up shop, and we could expand our business base in that respect.
Absolutely. We see that a lot. You know, it's a lot of visitors come here. I know I've known personally some people in the Clarksdale area that came, fell in love, and now they own, you know, restaurants or blues-related businesses. So it's something that we do see a lot in the state, and we do believe that it's a great way. As we like to say, it's the first state of economic development. Nobody's going to invest in Mississippi without visiting first. So
that's a good point, and I think that's absolutely true. And the better we look, the more attractive we look, the more likely we are to land them as a permanent resident and get them to set up some sort of business.
Absolutely.
What do you think, if any, are some of the obstacles to that, to attracting visitors? Is there anything in particular that sticks out?
Well, I think you mentioned, you know, sometimes there's some misconceptions about the state. We always say that if we ever get people to Mississippi, they love it.
Absolutely.
We have statistics that show about 3/4 of our visitors visit more than 3 times a year. So it's it's the getting here, I think. Once we get them here, our people, our culture, our hospitality, we always win them over, and they always come back. So almost always. So we think that's something. Sometimes it's a hurdle. People think Mississippi, you know, but once they come and see all that we have to offer, they really do fall in love with the state.
Yeah, and the unique thing about the state of Mississippi is, being a coastal state, is that and kind of long in physical shape, we've got the coast and the coast culture all the way up to North Mississippi and to the Appalachian North the foothills there, the northeast part of the state, the central part of the state, the Delta. It's really a melting pot. It's extremely diverse, and I think that attracts a lot of visitors.
I think that is a huge part of what makes Mississippi unique. I mean, we have our regions definitely have their own personality, culture, and I think that's really special. Not a lot of states have that. They may have a couple of regions or a couple of different things, but we have, like you said, we have it all from the water to the foothills and everything in between. So I think that's really special.
But I heard a report on the business news, got about a minute left, that this summer is actually expected to be a very busy travel season. Maybe not quite up to the pre-pandemic levels, but
absolutely, we're seeing visitor sentiment. People are ready to go. You know, what's going on isn't affecting their decisions to travel, we're going to do it. We're going to work with whatever's happening.
That's awesome.
Of course, the gas prices, that's not helping anything. That's a challenge, but thankfully everybody's ready to go.
That's great.
So.
Danielle, appreciate you coming on. Very informative, and folks, come see Mississippi. You'll love it here once you get here. Appreciate
Thank you, Gerard.
Thank you. We'll be right back here on Middays from the Element Wealth Studio. Stay